Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today, I have a very, very special guest. Please welcome to the podcast, Mike DC, a.k.a. Mike McTernan. Mike, thanks for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is the perfect time to do it.
I know.
Can't really go anywhere else.
It's a very, it's such an interesting time right now, right?
Yeah, so I work from home most of the time, and so my life is not that much different than usual. Like, my day-to-day routine is not that much different.
Yeah.
So I'm having a very difficult time wrapping my head around everything that's happening. And, just when I do go out, there is a sense of fear that people have, or even so much as like walking down the street, people are crossing the street if they see you coming. And it's interesting. And I really, it's hard to grasp it. It's hard to really understand because I've never been through anything remotely like this.
No, not at all. It's very surreal. Like, our grocery store is 2 blocks from the house, and we ordered delivery yesterday because the day before, Max went in there wearing a gas mask and freaking Moon's like pink dishwashing gloves because he didn't want me to go in there because, kids aren't supposedly can get it more than like somebody my age could get it. But I was worried about him just going in there, but we wash everything. Like I don't know, man. It's like a movie, man. There's nobody on the streets. Like you said, when you're walking on the street, people cross the street. People like maybe give you a nod to say, because nobody knows who has it. I don't know, man. It's very surreal. And I was talking to my friend about like what's going to be like when we go back into society, man. It's going to affect so many different people in so many ways. Think about the businesses who are having no problem working from home. They're like, okay, we don't need this office space now. Why are we renting a building? Like, so many businesses are going to change. Everything's going to be different after this.
I definitely think so. And I do wonder whether, something's going to happen where the news focus is going to shift. Whenever you have something major like this, where the news is focusing, I mean, you don't hear anything aside from this.
This is it.
So something's going to happen where it's going to take the focus off this. And then I wonder if people will start to slowly get back to normal because it's not shoved down their throats. Because after a while, people are going to want to be desperate for what their lives were once like. And I don't think everyone's going to accept this as the new normal. So hopefully people will follow the guidelines and everything for now. But I just, I can see eventually it just being like, okay, I need to go back to what it once was.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's if there was no social media and all we had was just the nightly news, like growing up, it wouldn't be such so crazy right now and so much fear. And I just feel like the social media is making it way worse, man.
Well, so I agree with you, but at the same time, I guess maybe it's just kind of what the people I follow and who I choose to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't really want to follow people who are consumed by fear and stoking flames of fear,
Good point.
I want to follow people who, and so my work, we have this message board and we all try to stay in touch. Pretty much 90% of the company was furloughed. I am lucky because I still get to work a couple days a week, which is amazing. I'm like so incredibly lucky. But someone posted something of, like the way to look at it is, not look at it as, hey, I'm not going to get sick, but instead of saying I'm not going to get sick, look at it as I'm going to stay healthy. So it's like, I want to follow, like I follow what you say. And there's a few other people who I guess, part of where I am in my life in general now is like changing the way I look at things to improve my mental health and my view of the world. And that clicked with me. It's like, yeah, like instead of me saying, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to not get sick, I'm going to start looking at it as like, I'm going to take every step I can to stay healthy and be healthy. And, and so I guess, it's like you can follow one path or the other, and which one are you going to choose, and which one is going to dictate how you act toward, how you're going to, how are you going to treat yourself and your mental health? And like, are you going to like promote yourself being healthy, or are you going to try to create fear in everybody? And I, you see all these people who are like hoarding and stockpiling things, and like they just don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. Like, they're not thinking about their family. They're not thinking about their friends. Like, they may have all the toilet paper and all the hand sanitizer in the world, but what about like someone that down the street that they claim to love who has nothing, and is ashamed to say, like, I am using napkins now because I didn't buy that extra couple rolls that I saw. I say, I just think, we can really learn from this. We can learn how we treat each other. We can learn how we treat ourselves. And that's kind of what I'm trying to take out of this is like, okay, I'm going to learn something about who I am and how I treat like everyone around me, not just the people I love.
Yeah. I love that, man, because you see people going for self, like it's the end of the world apocalypse, and like people are fighting over toilet paper. They're grabbing as much as selling it online for triple the price and trying to capitalize on the situation, which isn't a funny situation whatsoever. And like you said, yeah, you really can, in times like this, you really can see the people that like really care about people, or people that's out for self. It kind of like, yeah.
It's like kind of like, at Black Friday, like people are trampling over each other to get a deal of $50 off a TV. And it's like, really, is that worth it to you? And so, it just really makes you think of, okay, like, we got a great country. We have all these freedoms, but what kind of mentality are we fostering by, freedom and capitalism and all this stuff? Like, if we're trampling over each other to save $50 on a TV or get an extra thing of toilet paper, like, what does that say about who we are? Yeah. Once we, when and how we treat each other. And I just really have started thinking about that a lot. I got a lot of free time now, so I have a lot of time to think. So
Adam brought up a good point today. Adam was saying how people in bands have been on tour and like slept on people's floors and weren't in the best, clean situations, touring with bathrooms, just everything, and being stuck on each other and like long van rides and being trapped in situations and on buses or vans and being cooped up together and all this. Like, he feels like Adam's like, this is no big deal. Like, I'm used to like not really. He's just used to that kind of situation. He was just saying today, from being like a monk, sleeping on floors, just everything, and just being around things that weren't sanitized, things that were. Not saying he's immune from it, but just saying, like, if you've been in a band, you've been stuck in a van for hours or trapped places and in a venue all day, just whatever. He's just saying, like, he feels like people in bands are kind of mentally
prepared.
Prepared. Yeah, for this.
I think you shared that thing for the CD's bathroom, like if you use this, like you're going to live forever. And it's like, like a lot of us, like I haven't done it as many years as you have, but it's like, sleeping on floors I was telling Amber the other day how I remember we pulled up in a parking lot because like our van, it had a really small gas tank. So if we'd be driving through like South Dakota in the middle of the night, it would say next 24-hour gas station, 400 miles or whatever. We couldn't make that, so we just pull up in a parking lot, and I'd lay in the parking lot with a pillow and just lay there. I mean, that's when I'm 19, 20 years old. Yeah. I'm 46 now. I definitely wouldn't be doing that now. Who am I kidding?
No.
But, but yeah, like I think, we're kind of prepared for, okay, how do we get by with the least possible? Like how can, I have this and this and this, and I'm going to make it last because I have that experience. So
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that before, but it does make sense because I'm not, I sometimes think maybe I should be more worried than I am, but I'm just kind of like, you know what? I got my team here. I'm not really all that worried about it. I whatever happens, there's so many ways that you can get sick. My biggest concern is going out, getting sick, and making someone I love sick.
Exactly.
So that's the thing that's keeping me smart about it. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh well,
Yeah, of course.
Whatever. So
it also like punk rock kind of taught us to question a lot of things. Like, don't believe everything you read or see on the news, and to question everything. And not saying that everything we're hearing is because people are sick and dying. It's a real pandemic. Like, shit's really happening. But there's also so many different twists and turns and different like, I heard about this person got that and this can, like, we were told kind of to question it all. And for sure, there's things going, people making money off this like crazy. There's so much stuff happening behind the scenes right now, like in the government, just everywhere. This is not the main thing that's happening, but like people are definitely benefiting off this, and like some people just think, oh, everything the news tells us, okay, we have to follow these rules, but I think I'm nowhere near a conspiracy theory person whatsoever, but people have been sending me stuff I've been reading. Not that I'm believing all of it or any of it. I'm just saying, as far as like how we were brought up in the scene and the music we listen to, it always like question authority, question the government, question this, and like, so maybe that's why we're not as scared. Not saying like we're invincible and we can't catch it, but like I'm not gonna really like dive into so much of the hype and the fear right now. I know exactly, social distancing, wash your hands, stay home, all that. Those are easy guidelines to follow,
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's important to not believe everything you hear or not believe everything you read, because no matter how legitimate a news source is, they have oh my God, sorry, I'm forgetting the word, but they have an agenda, and and a lot of times their customers or their advertising is driving their agenda, and so I am very aware of that. Like, that's why I just read multiple sources and and not downplaying the severity of any of this. I think it's horrible because I've been so lucky. I don't know anybody who's gotten sick. I don't know anybody who has it.
Neither.
So I've been extremely lucky. And, but at the same time, like, I don't want to, I'm going to be as smart as I can be about it because, I don't want to be like that. There was some kid who was like in Florida or something. He was talking about, it's all fake. And then he got it. Like, I guess he licked a toilet seat or something.
Yes.
And then he got it. And it's like, I'm not going to be that guy. And, but at the same time, I don't want to spend my life in fear. I just, it's the same thing. Like, you go out in a car, you have such a good possibility of getting in a car wreck and getting hurt. But you know what? That's why you drive safely. You wear your seatbelt. Do all the things you do to protect yourself. And I think this is the same instance. Do everything you can to protect yourself, protect the people you love. And the possibility of getting sick and dying is there. But I mean, every time you cross the street, it's there. And so I was watching the news a lot and just really paying a close attention, but now I'm just kind of like, you know what? I know all it is numbers now, unfortunately. And not down. And that sounds so cold, but when you hear these press conferences that are throwing these numbers at you, and I think it's kind of disrespectful because that's what it becomes. Like, these are people's lives you're talking about, and yet they're just like, well, we have, 300 new cases, and over the night, 700 people died. And it's like, okay, you're making these people just numbers. I don't think that needs to be done because that's creating fear. And so I watch the news first thing in the morning, And then I was every night, but now I'm just kind of like, you know what? I don't need that. I know it's severe. So it's time to kind of shift my focus to something different.
I love that. Okay, so now let's start the podcast. And that was more current event stuff, which I never talk about on my podcast, which is amazing. I usually, most of my podcasts, I could do them 6 months ago and drop them today, and there'll be nothing like you would know when it was done. But now, since we are on lockdown and we're in quarantine, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you being on. I had your brother on here. I'm excited to have you on here. I know you for a very, very, very long time, probably since you were like very young, huh? Because I'm 49. 13. Wow.
Yeah, I met you when I was 13, so 1987.
Holy
I have
shit.
the flyer. I think it was like November 19th, 1987. It was Dag Nasty and Swizz at 930 Club.
Yeah, you sent me
I
that
was
flyer.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 13 and my brother was 11, and you come up and you were like, "What the fuck are you kids doing here?" And we were like, you know, and this is something I tell everyone, you know, like it was so cool because we saw you there. And then I honestly don't think I saw you again until you started coming around to the shows at Safari Club with the other bands. And I remember thinking like it was such a cool thing because, you know, you were coming down with these bands. Like I saw you came down with like Sick of It All, Raw Deal,
GB,
Judge maybe,
yeah.
GB, you know, but you would introduce us to all these guys instead of being like, you know, just kind of playing us off. You know, you were really cool. Like, yo, these are my friends. And I was like, I just really appreciated that.
That's
and,
awesome.
You know, and I think I've told you that before. And I just think it's so cool that, you know, you were really, really nice to us, you know, and like, I don't know. So that really stood out to me. And it's like kind of why I still am like super involved, or still like I'm not much part of a hardcore scene anymore. I just don't relate to it as much.
Yeah.
But I still really am adamant about talking about straight edge, or you know, just calling myself straight edge, because like if I can influence a younger kid and be positive, because you've had such an influence on me, even now, you know, as an adult, as 46 years old, like how crazy going from 13 to 46. Like, that's a long fucking time.
It is, man.
You know, think about how many years that is. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. Is Brian your older brother or younger brother?
He's younger. So he's 2 years, almost to the day, 2 years younger than I am. And, you know, we started getting into music about the same time. Like we just, through different people, but kind of gravitated toward the same thing. So it's kind of neat. But the way I talk about him, I'm so proud of him and everything he's accomplished and all his bands. Everyone's like, is he the older brother? Just because I'm so like so proud and everything. And I'm like, nope, that's my young brother right there. So yeah, I couldn't be more proud of him.
That's amazing. Do you guys have any other siblings?
Yeah, we have a younger brother who's named Petey. He's 7 or 8 years younger than I am, so there's a pretty big age difference.
Oh wow!
And you know, when he was much younger, he played in that band Good Clean Fun. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, for sure.
He was their first, I want to say probably their first drummer. And, you know, but he did music for a little while, but then kind of did his own thing. So he's a lawyer now and just kind of really accomplished and, you know, definitely doing a lot more than I am. But, you know, I'm really proud of him also for everything he's accomplished.
So were you guys born? Were you guys born in D.C. or Maryland?
We were born, all three of us were born at Georgetown Hospital, just so right in D.C., like a couple blocks from the Discord House. And
nice.
So, you know, all three of us were born there and then grew up in Bethesda, Maryland. So we, you know, growing up in, like, let's see, I'm trying to think, in the late 80s, early 90s, you know, like, I mean, you remember, DC was kind of rough.
It was.
And so I'm really surprised, like, you know, I went to a Catholic school from 1st to 8th grade and started going to shows. My summer of after 7th grade, so going into 8th grade. And I always am so surprised that my mom would let us go. Like, she'd drive us down, drop us off, and drive around for a couple hours and then come pick us up.
That's amazing.
I think about that, and, you know, just like, because, yeah, I mean, DC in the late 80s was really rough.
It was.
You know, I'm like, my girlfriend's daughter's 12 now, and I think about if I sometimes second guess letting her just walk around the neighborhood, you know, and I just think, like, I can't imagine if I let her take the train into Philly, because it would be kind of like the same thing. We live out in the suburbs right outside of Philly, and if I let her take the train in, like, I mean,
yeah,
I just can't imagine doing that. So I'm just like, what was my mom thinking? You know?
So your parents weren't strict?
No, not at all. And, you know, and one of the crazy things is, like, when my mom, right out of high school, I think my mom was a nun. And,
oh, wow.
you know, and her father, I want to say her father was a Baptist minister, and, you know, so that really religious family. And then I went to Catholic school for like 8 years. And I think, if anything, that turned me against religion.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say against it, but it showed me that, you know, religion was definitely not for me. And but yeah, you know, my parents weren't really strict at all. And I think because my cousins, so my mom's sister, her children were really into music also. And kind of like that really drove who they were. So I think my mom saw that and was more lenient and kind of was more understanding that we wanted to do stuff like that. And so I think that's why she was really supportive for us going to shows and getting into something that was like a little bit different than what all the other local kids were doing.
Yeah. So what was was punk rock like the first music you guys were exposed to?
Well, you know, so when I was really young, my close friends, their parents were like born again Christian.
Yeah.
And so they were really into like that kind of like Christian rock. So that was actually the first kind of music that I was exposed to, really, because they would take us to all these concerts. And so, you know, so I'd be going to those, but then, so that was probably like 4th and 5th grade. And then in 6th grade, I started getting into new wave.
Nice.
Just like, and so that was my first like introduction to music that I kind of searched out on my own, where before with like the Christian stuff, it was because my friend's parents were like feeding it to us. Like, here you go, you know, and she was, his mom was really young. So she was like kind of cool, and, you know, we'd go to like these like Christian metal shows and stuff.
That's awesome.
But, you know, I was kind of, I was excited to be exposed to something new, but I didn't search it out on my own. But then probably when I was about in 6th grade, I started listening to probably like basically the Pretty in Pink soundtrack.
Awesome.
Was like my introduction. And then The Cure and the Smiths and stuff like that.
Followed,
and so that's the kind of music that I got into punk through that. And like, so I never listened to metal. You know, so many people like, oh, I got into punk through metal. But I would say like probably the first metal band I ever really listened to, and I remember not liking them, was Metallica. I remember thinking, oh, you know, this is kind of harsh, not really my thing. And so I got into new wave first, and that was like really the time where I started reading the thanks lists or reading magazines and seeing other bands and starting to search out music. And then my friend's sister's boyfriend, I remember he made us a tape with 7 Seconds, The Crew, Unity 7-inch, Embrace, Right to Spring, and You Today, Can't Close My Eyes.
Wow.
All on one cassette, and he typed out the lyrics to
Holy
all the
shit.
songs. And like, you know, it was like, here you guys go, you know, this is like some of my favorite stuff. And I was blown away. And that was kind of like my introduction to punk and hardcore, where I was like, wow, this is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a band, I don't know if you remember him, called At Wit's End.
Yeah, I know that band. Yeah.
Do you remember? They were from the Bethesda area.
Yeah.
He played guitar for him. Like, I only saw them play once with Ignition at UC Space. Brian and I went down. That was another one. My mom drove us down to DC Space. I don't think the show started till like 10. Like on a school night, my mom's driving around DC. You know, so Glenn, who I'm pretty sure he played guitar for At Wit's End. He's the one who he gave my friend Tim and I, like, he gave us these tapes and then was like, oh, you know, and here's a Discord flyer, you know, and then we started ordering Discord stuff and going to Y&T and Smash and Vinyl Link and just kind of, you know, really really researching music and talking to the people who worked there and asking them what they recommended and reading Maximum Rock and Roll and WDC Period.
I remember that too.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, WDC. Yeah, I do.
Who did that? Do you remember?
I don't know. I do not. I remember that WDC Period though for sure.
Yeah, so that's how we found out a lot of the local DC bands. You know, so I mean, I think it's like pretty much like every hardcore kid. You read lyric sheets and then you find one band and then you look at the shirt they're wearing and you go search out what or you order it off
a mail order or something, yeah.
Maximum Rock and Roll. And yeah, I mean, I remember, and that's how I got a lot of my pen pals. Like one of my first pen pals was John Bunch, because I ordered the Reason to Believe 7-inch after reading the review of Maximum Rock and Roll.
Wow.
And I remember he wrote me these really long letters on the back of flyers.
That's awesome.
And when I was in 9th grade. So, you know, I'm this 14-year-old kid, and who knows, I don't know how much older he was, but, you know, he was writing me these really long letters and like, check out this band, and then making me tapes and everything. And I feel so lucky. Him and Dan Dittmer from South Dakota, he was in that band Straight from the Heart. I don't know if you've ever met him.
No, I don't know if maybe I have, probably, yeah.
But he's, you know, he used to, and then Jeff from Up Front and Mike Hartsfield, you know, like all of these people were older than I was, but so cool, you know, and I'm so thankful to all of them because they kind of led me in the direction of the music that made me who I am today.
It's awesome. It's so young too. So if you were going to shows like 10 o'clock on school nights, how were your grades in school? Did you and Brian get good grades? Did you like school?
Oh no, never. Brian and I were just, you know, it's one of those things like, and I think about it now and what we know about head trauma and you know, it's so like I was bullied a lot from 2nd grade on. You know, my family didn't have a lot of money, and I remember like kids in the school would donate their clothes to us, the clothes that they used, and not like we were super poor, but we just didn't have the same amount of money that, you know, these other kids had, and they used to make fun of me for that, but you know, so I was bullied. And then also like when I want to say like 5, I flipped over the handlebars on my bike and skidded on my face, and, you know, just so I had a concussion then, and then I also fell headfirst out of the 2nd story window.
What?
And landed. Yeah, and I mean, so a friend of mine was throwing something up, and I was trying to catch it, and I fell out of the window. I ended up landing on him, broke his leg. But what's interesting about that is he ended up running in the Olympics in Australia and in Atlanta, you know, so he ended up becoming this like world champion runner. And so even though I broke his leg, but, you know, so like going, you know, so we go back, like, I mean, if I didn't land on him, I would have been dead because it was concrete that I fell on. But, you know, I had severe concussion.
How old were you then?
Concussions, you know. I'm sorry?
How old were you when you fell out the window? How old?
I think I want to say like 7.
Damn.
So 6 or 7. And so, and then, concussions from like shows and when we
Yeah.
played and, and I've had so many, and then seizures, and like, they could never been able to figure out officially why I have seizures, but they think it could have been from concussions when I was a kid. And,
Wow.
and then that kind of has what I'm kind of finding out through years of therapy and my neurologist and psychiatrist, like that could have caused some of my mental illness over the years. And it's, and that went unchecked for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
So like school was just difficult. Like I just had no interest in being there. Like I was made fun of by all the kids. And I was telling my girlfriend about this the other day, how like, I remember in 6th and 7th grade, everyone's like, yeah, you're gay. And I was like, am I? Like, I don't exactly know what being gay is.
Mm-hmm.
So am I? Like, I didn't equate it as like, oh, I have feelings for another guy, because I didn't, but everyone said I was. And, if someone beats into your head that you are something, it's like you're going to start to believe it. And for a long time, I was like, am I gay? Like, I don't exactly know what that means, but I guess if they said, but, and it's like, so, it's like kids are just mean.
So mean.
But,
I was just thinking that's horrible, man.
And, and I would like, and this is something I figured out recently also, like I used to get these really bad headaches, and they were stress headaches because I would worry about going to school, and I'd grind my teeth the night before. And so I'd get these terrible headaches, and I wouldn't be able to go to school because I'd be up all night, like worried about going, because I'm
horrible,
like, what
man.
am I walking into? So, and it's, but then, I kind of skated through high school in terms of like, I worked, my first job was at a yogurt store. And then, so I got one of those work programs where I only had to go to school a couple classes a day, and the rest of the time I'd go to work. So I only went to school for like 2 or 3 periods a day sometimes, if at all. Mm-hmm. Like my senior year, I went maybe once a week.
Oh, wow.
And I still have like, sometimes I still have, I'm like, I wonder how I graduated, because, and it's just because they were like, we know if we give you a hard time, you're going to just drop out. And if they have their graduation percentage, depends on how much money they get. And
totally.
So I really believe that's why they let me graduate, because otherwise there's no way I should have graduated. And Brian ended up dropping out when he was 15. So,
That's right. Tell me that.
So, yeah. So, he just stopped going. Like my mom would drop him off in front of the school, and he'd walk to the front door, and she'd pull off, and then he'd turn around and go, and like he was hanging out with like a bunch of DC graffiti artists.
Yeah,
so, he
crazy
just
graffiti.
Stopped going one day. And like a few months later, one of the teachers calls my mom and was like, is Brian coming back to school? And my mom was under the impression he was going every day.
Oh, man.
It's like, but because she had no idea, she'd drop him off and then she'd go to work. And so, it's Brian and I, neither of us did well in school. We both have had our issues, and I think we both handled it much differently. And but they were very similar, but it was just how we handled it was just a little bit different.
We just like we like a shy you're like a shy kid, like
definitely. And I and I always have been, and that's what was always weird about me playing music. It's like I don't like being up on stage in front of people. Like for so many years I was like, Battery should just play full time, like Ken. Because Ken was in Battery and Damnation, and we couldn't do both full time. So I was like, yo, Ken, let's just break up Damnation. I'll sell merch for Battery. And, so I still, when we play, we have to turn the lights really low, because I get so nervous about people being able to see me and focusing on me that we turn the lights really low. Because I can't do it. So, and I don't talk in between songs, so we run samples, and it's just all these things that it's been amazing, because Ken's really worked with me on like getting me to feel comfortable enough to get up there. But yeah, like I've always been shy, and and where Brian, I think when he was younger, he would act out. If something made him mad, he'd kind of lash out at everyone, where I would internalize everything. If I was really upset, I would take it out on myself, and then I think he would kind of lash out at everyone. So, we're both so similar in how we process things, we're both similar with our feelings, but how we process them and deal with them is I think a lot different, or it was when we were younger.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that too. Just touring with Brian too. He's definitely shy. Like before he gets on stage, he's super like nervous and stuff. And then when he gets up there, it's great. But like I think like when you go on stage, I still get nervous too, man. I get nervous every show. Like before I go on stage, I get like a stomach rumbling thing. And then once you get up there, I just feel like it's not like you become somebody else, but I think it makes you feel like you're comfortable. And actually people, if they're coming to see your band, then they're coming because they're supporting you. They're not coming because they don't like you. I don't know. I know what you're saying though, but did you feel like has that helped you with being shy and the stuff you've been through is being in a band, or you feel like you still felt, it seems like you felt the exact same way on and off stage, you were still shy?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it hasn't made any type of difference at all.
Wow.
It's, I do it, and I have a hard time saying no to playing, because like like a perfect example. Do you know Sonny, who does Hate 5-6?
Yep. I never met him, but I know him. I like his work. Yeah, I love his work. Yeah.
He's just this really amazing guy, and he's so passionate about everything he does, and and just it's some of the conversations I've had with him about music and how his feelings toward Damnation and our lyrics, and how they've impacted him. And I just think of that, and I think of, okay, like by me saying, okay, I'm not going to play, it's just being kind of selfish. And like if I love to, kind of like what I was saying earlier, I love to have like a positive impact on younger people. And one of the reasons I do this is to have like, to make people feel at ease if people are suffering and depressed, and I want to make them feel at ease. And like, what, I still have the voice that I can do that. So, so I should take advantage of that while I can. And so, like whenever we get offered a show, I'm like I agree to it, or here's, I'll tell you how I work. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like here, I let Ken handle everything, because Ken's the guy who kind of runs everything. Yeah. And I kind of put it in his lap, because, if it was up to me, I'd just be like, no, man, that's cool, I appreciate it, but we just can't do it. But if I put it in his lap and it happens, then I kind of, okay, I have to do it. But if it doesn't happen, I'm like, awesome. I just, it just, because I get so nervous. It's like the only thing that's worse for me in terms of like nerves is going to the dentist. Like that would be the only thing that's worse than playing a show for me is,
I hate the dentist too.
I get shy and I get anxious. But one of the things that I've had this talk with Popeye from Farside, and he kind of, and I do this now, he was like, oh man, I feel the same way. But what I do is if someone comes up and says, oh, you guys were awesome, blah, 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 like, he's like, well, what did you think about the other band? Turn the conversation around on them. Take the focus off of you and put it on something else. And I'm like, so I do that every time. And I'm like, oh, cool. That works, because I can say, hey, what did you think about this other band? Or like, did you have a good time? Like, I don't know, just turn it around, take the focus off of me, and then I can handle it easier. So yeah, I still, I remember he and I had that conversation probably 20 something years ago, and I still do it today. So
I like that. That's a good, I like that actually. I want to try that.
Yeah, you do like the little things, and Carl from Earth Crisis and we've had conversations like, because I'm like, what do you do when you forget lyrics? And he's like, oh man, and we had this whole plan. Like, he's like, oh, I'll just give the microphone to the crowd and kind of try to
Me too.
get a feeling for where I am in the song. And, or like, or he's like, if it's really bad and there's not, if there's a barrier, he's like, I'll just like pretend to the microphone, pull out the cord and walk away from it. And hopefully by the time I put the cord back in, I remember where the song is.
That's great
so, yeah,
too.
Like I remember, I'm pretty sure he's the one, because I know we've had that conversation before, because it just blew my mind that, with how often they would play, that he would forget the lyrics. And I thought I was the only one.
No, it happens to me too. I do the same thing. I just hand the mic and hopefully get back on from that verse or whatever, for sure. But unplugging it, that's another good idea too, actually.
Yeah, and I'm almost positive he was the one who was like, I'll pretend to step on the cord, pull it away from the mic, and just walk away, and then, keep singing like nothing's going on, and then just like, and he's like, yeah, because if you're up on a stage with a barrier, you can't. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Carl's the one who I was talking about that with. So I have to give him credit. If not, I'm sorry to whoever gave me that idea.
I love that. So, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so that's, it's something, because, I guess, everyone forgets lyrics. I thought I was the only one.
No, man. It happens. It's crazy. Like the bigger rock bands, they have like teleprompters and stuff, which is, I can't imagine a hardcore band having like a teleprompter on stage.
Yeah. See, if we could do that, everything would be different.
It would be. so you
start something new.
So still being shy. Still being shy and being in the band the same as you were in high school and growing up, you've always been that type of kid. Like, do you think being straight edge and being part of the scene definitely helped you? It had to. I'm trying to think, because I was thinking that you were shy in school and you've been through being bullied and all this trauma, and then you get in a band, and then this is the way you express yourself, and you get on stage, and you feel not so shy. But for you, you still stayed shy. So you think being straight edge has definitely helped your mental? I'm sure that's a dumb question. I'm sure it has.
Well, I think in terms of just like I just overdo everything.
Okay.
It's like I don't have much self-control, especially like food has always been my thing, and then so I always look at with everything, what I would probably overdo it. Like, if I drank, I'd probably would have drank myself to death. But I think in terms of like being straight edge and being shy, it's like, okay, I mean, and this is the first time I'm really thinking about this, but I'm trying to think of a way that might come off to try to describe it. But, like if you meet a girl for the first time, it's like you're really nervous and you're kind of anxious. But after a while, you open up and you show your true self. And I think that's the way it was with the hardcore scene, not so much it playing in the band, but just me coming out of my shell and talking to people. It's just because I loved the people who were part of that scene so much that I could just go talk to anybody. So I wasn't nervous or anxious. I was just like, wow, I'm part of a family right here. And so,
You're
when
safe.
I would be doing merch, yeah, like if I was doing merch for, going back to Worlds Collide, or when I'd go out with Ashes or Battery, like I was so talkative and outgoing and everything, because I was around people that I loved.
That's awesome.
Because that's the one thing in life that I was just passionate about, and I just loved, just like the hardcore music and the ideals and the way the bands and the people spoke to me. And so, like I didn't feel any sort of I wasn't nervous around them, because I felt like it was a family, and it was such a cool feeling. And now it's different, because when I do go to shows occasionally, I feel because I don't go to shows often, and I'm just kind of, I guess mainly because I don't relate to the bands, what they're saying as much. Like the lyrics are what have always mattered to me, not the music.
Me too.
The music has always been like, I've preferred acoustic and folk, and like that's what I love musically. But what spoke to me was the lyrics in hardcore. And so I go to shows now and I just kind of feel not as much a part of it, and I feel anxiety. So I don't go to shows a lot, because I really get nervous about the idea of going. And so sometimes, Amber always wants to go to shows. Like it's funny because, she's not vegan or straight edge, but she loves Earth Crisis and she loves Year of the Knife, loves all these straight edge bands that are
awesome.
like super tough. And I'm like, okay, like here, I'm going to sit here and listen to some Frightened Rabbit or Elliott Smith, like but so it's just different. But I still love it. I still I'll always be a punk kid no matter what. But I won't, my ideals and beliefs have changed over the years, but I think they've just grown with who I am.
Totally.
I'm more realistic about things. But I'm still pretty much the same person. I think probably the only difference in me between now and when I was like 15 is that I'm vegan now instead of just vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
I finally went vegan about 5 years ago, and
it's awesome.
But it's like that's probably the only. I still dress the same. Like I still have no sense of style. And that's what like Amber's always saying. Also, like we'd probably be able to buy our own house if you didn't spend so much money on clothes. And I'm like, yes, this shirt I have right now is about 20 years old, and I don't know. So I'm just But I when I think about it, I think of like I am this shy person, and it's hard because I know I've heard a lot of times that I come off like an asshole, and because I am so shy and I won't look at people and I won't go talk to people because I don't think they want to talk to me. And every time we go somewhere, I'm like, oh my God. And if people are happy to see me, I'm like, oh my God, that felt so good, because I thought I was going to walk into a room and people were going to turn their backs on me. And Amber's always saying, like you've made a good impression on people. Like,
for sure.
You're the one, you're your biggest enemy. And so I just, and I mean, that's like growing up with Brian. I remember being so jealous of Brian because he had so many friends. Like everyone wanted to hang out with Brian, and same thing with Ken. Like I was kind of the guy who was always there, but everyone wanted to hang out with Ken. And I've just, but it's like maybe it bothered me a little when I was younger, but now I'm just kind of like, oh, it's cool. I got my family here, and I have a few people, and I text people that I'm thinking of them, and that's all I need to do. I don't need to be anybody else, and it takes a long time to realize that. But once you're okay with yourself, then everything else is going to be good.
Yeah. What do you think makes you shy? You were shy before you started going to school, then you started getting bullied, and then you stayed shy in your adult life. It's just how you were as a kid. Is it high? Yeah.
I think that's just who I am, and you know what this is. So, Amber's daughter, her name is Neela, and she's 12. And like, there's like, what I'm kind of realizing is like, and just talking to her and just letting her know, like, you have to be okay with telling people you're not comfortable in a situation. You have to be able to let people know that, hey, and it's not a bad thing if you just say, hey, this does not make me feel comfortable. And I realize that everybody is different. People react different environments in different ways. And, and I've never been into, let's steal some embrace. Like, I don't like parties. They avoid the truth. People lying in search of a good time. Like, that's the way I am. I would much prefer sitting down with you having a coffee.
Love that.
Than us being at a show where, we're yelling at each other just to communicate, and that's kind of how I've always been. Like, I would much prefer one-on-one interaction than, a huge crowd of people. Just my anxiety kicks in. I take medicine for it, and it's kind of, I have I have better control over it now than I have in the past. But at the same time, it's impossible to ignore because it's there. It's always knocking on the back door, like, hey, I'm here. And but but I think that's just who I am. You know, I think everybody deals with different situations and different, and I think, you know, I've spent so much of my life trying to live up to what I felt like other people's expectations of me were. And they never, and people didn't really have expectations other than, hey, I just want you to be yourself because you're a good person.
Exactly.
And it took me so long to realize, like, that's all I need to be. I need to be me. I don't need to be who someone else expects me to be. And and once I'm okay with that, then everyone's going to be okay with me. If not, fuck them.
I love that. That's how it should. Yeah, I love that. It's crazy how long during your life you figure out different things, or looking back on, like, oh, that's why I was being like that, or this. I don't know, just throughout the course of your life, just different time frames of your life and the situations you were in, or how you felt at that moment, or just stuff you've been through. And then as you get older, it all kind of makes sense. I don't know. And like you said too, like you're home with your family, you can text your friends. You don't need to be around a bunch of people. Like the one-on-one conversations, that goes such a long way, you know.
Yeah. So like when you see Max, like how do you what do you use to kind of influence him to be okay with who he is? Because that's something that's really important to me with Neela. Like, I just want you to be you, and you know, nothing else matters. And if people don't like you, then they're lost. Like, how do you teach Max that?
I just lead by example, and he knows how I grew up. He knows how I was in high school, how I've never tried anything. My friends, he's met a zillion of his uncles and his relatives, and the people, and the way me and Moon raised him is just to be yourself no matter what. And I'm so proud because he's 17 years old, and he's, out of his whole group of friends, he's the only person that doesn't do anything, but he hangs out with them still. He surfs, he boxes, he skates, and he's with all these group of kids, and he's the one who is not I don't want to say follower, because he's doing the same things teenagers are doing, but he's not drinking or doing drugs, and he just I guess leading by example, he sees that I've never done anything my entire life and still had a fun life and lived my life to the fullest without any of that. So that's a good thing. And he knows the communication with us is so fucking open, to the point now I'm like, damn, I don't think I needed to hear that. But like, we've been so open with everything from day one, me, him, and Moon, with tell us about anything. Don't keep anything inside. You're having problems at school, which he's had a couple incidents where we talked about. And like, because most kids keep that shit inside, don't tell their parents anything. And then they explode, or they turn to drugs, or turn to somebody else for advice, so it might not be positive. So our main thing is communication and being yourself. And I think it's really worked. And we're a very loving, connected family. We're super tight. So being quarantined up right now is fine for us, because we're used to each other, and we're like, I don't know. So I feel like the main thing is communication and trust, and him be able to not be afraid to tell us anything, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter how crazy it is, because we're his parents, and we brought him into this role, and it's our job to be role models for him and be here for him. So I think that's the number one thing, is just never be afraid to tell your parents anything, because most kids don't want to tell their parents anything. They want to just, once you get older too, like, I'm doing my own, I don't need my parents. I know everything now. But like the conversations we're having in Max right now, and he's 11th grader, like the stuff we're talking about, I was so lucky that he still wants to tell us anything and was still kind of cool, you know, because one day I'm not going to be the cool dad, you know, I hope not, but you know what I mean? So you just got to do your best you can, just to be honest with them and let them know that, 100% be yourself. And he knows both his parents are like punk rockers and tattooed kind of weirdos in society. So he knows who his parents are and how we grew up and the stuff we were into. And I love that Max went and found Slayer and Fit for an Autopsy and all these like crazy bands. He loves Lamb of God. He loves all these bands that he found a genre of music that me and Moon kind of knew nothing about, and went and found it himself. And he's like, this is my music. I'm like, it's awesome. So now because of him, I'm learning more about like death metal and all this crazy music.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things with Neela. Like, I'm so impressed that she finds all of these artists on her own, and she gets so nervous and she doesn't like to talk to us about them, but she found these on her own, and I'm just so proud of her for that. And I think it's so cool. But, you know, so one of the things I was going to ask you, like, how would you feel if he wanted to experiment with drugs or alcohol? Like, how would you approach that?
I mean, when he's 18, he can do whatever he wants. Right now, he's still under my roof. So when you're under our roof, these are the rules that you should respect. And if you respect and love your parents, here's another thing too. There's some parents that don't trust their kids at all, and because they don't trust them, the kids are like, hell with it, I'm going to party anyway. Don't trust me anyway. When you have trust with your child, and they know that you trust them, they're going to want to be good because you have this open communication with them and know what they're doing, what they're getting into. Like, but if not, if the parents are like, where were you? What are you doing? I'm tracking you on the phone. Be home by 9:00. Then the kids are like, yo, I'm gonna get crazy then. But if there is this trust there and there's this line of communication, and they know you respect them and there's like a trust there, then they don't want to like bum you out or like make, you know what I mean? Like, so, but Max, when he's 18, and Max is raised with no meat. He never wants to eat meat. He thinks it's disgusting, but he's not forced to be a vegetarian. It's the way he was raised. And so, and as far as like partying like his friends are doing now, like he knows that we're not down with that, and he's still 17. When he's 18, whatever he's going to do, we can do the best that we can while he's under our roof, and he's a young person. But when he becomes an adult, he can take what he learned from us, and hopefully he sticks with some of it. I can't predict that. I can't predict what's going to happen, but I know we did our very best to raise him with the morals that we had and everything that we learned growing up. So. But when he's a grown man, if he's 18, he wants to try something, even if he tried something now and was honest with us about it, at least to be honest about it. There's no hiding of anything. But I'm just really hoping that he stays on that path like I did, because if he makes it through high school like I made through high school, not doing drugs or alcohol, you can make it the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like high school is the most pressure, I feel. At least it was for me, about fitting in and stuff.
And I agree. But I think, a lot of people who get into it afterwards, when they, I think straight edge saves a lot of teenagers and then sets people up for when they're adults,
Yes.
they can control themselves, and they have more, there's not the peer pressure that's involved with that kind of stuff. So they don't overdo it.
Totally.
And, so I think when there's a lot of kids who were straight edge with when we were teenagers, and then they kind of got out of it, but then they got into drinking or whatever, and then they realized like, that was just a phase I went through, and I don't need that to get by. And but I really think it helps a lot of us get through our teenage years intact, because I think there's kids who are into punk and hardcore, there's an aggressive side to us like that.
For sure.
That the music kind of helps take away, and it diverts that negative energy into something positive, whether it's dancing or being in a band. Like when you would leave a show, you would feel like cleansed emotionally and physically.
100%.
You would you would leave your family there, and you're like, cool, I will, be seeing you next Sunday at the matinee. And or it's like, and the one-off, because it was so much different then, but the one-off show in the middle of the week, like, hey, see you in a couple days. And it was just, there was something that it drew so much. I mean, I don't even know if this is the word. It's the only way I can think of right now, but it kind of cleansed me, and it helped me feel so much better about who I was and who I wanted to be. And, it was just a really cool feeling.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I'm just so thankful that like punk and hardcore, it saved my life. Like I can really say that without a doubt, because even when I was into it, like there were so many years where I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be around. I'm 46 now, and if you would have asked me when I was like 19 or 20, I would have been able to say with 100% certainty I would not be around till 30.
Wow.
But I kept finding reasons, like, okay, and through music, like, all right, I'm not the only one who feels this way. Yep. I'm not the only one who has these like demons that kind of follow them around, and like there's other people who feel as lost and alone as I do, and and not saying like I spent all that time wanting to die, but I spent all that time not wanting to live. And I think it being able to approach that now as an adult and realize, like, life is not easy, but that's when you kind of, like what we were saying earlier, like you look at, like, you look at it as, I'm not going to get sick, but you look at it as, I'm going to stay healthy. And, so you just kind of find a different way to look at it and realize, like, okay, it's not always going to be easy, but there are certain things, like just giving someone a hug, telling someone you love them, like, it makes it worth it.
100%.
So when I'm like feeling my worst, and I remember, like, when I would be at my worst, I just send someone a heart emoji. And like in my head, I'm like, okay, that's my lifeline to somebody. That's me telling them I love them. And that's me finding a reason to live right there. And,
wow, man.
And like, it's kind of rough, but I spent a bunch of years doing that. I've spent a bunch of years feeling alone, but that was what helped save me. And I'm just so thankful. And, that there's so many times in my life I've disappeared. I've just kind of like walked away from everything just because I felt so much like no one wanted anything to do with me. But no one, everyone understood, like, all right, we're here when you're ready. And no one judged me for it and welcomed me with open arms when I was ready to come back.
Yeah, and like you said too, like you're your worst enemy. So all that stuff's in your head. Like people love you and miss you, want to hang out with you. They love the music you make. They love everything you've done. But you don't see that. You don't feel that. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but and I guess having Neela, and realizing, like, I have to be the most. This is my one chance to get it right and have, like, this kid has so much riding on what I can teach her, and I can either do this right, and I think growing up, my parents just I can't blame them because I think they just didn't understand. I don't think. Things are just different now. We're different. Like, can you picture like what your mom was like when she was your age compared to what you are like now? It's
no.
it's so strange to think about it.
Yeah.
Like when I'm like, wow, when my mom was 46, she, it's like, yeah, I just can't even imagine how different our lives are from when our parents were this age.
But I feel like it's because we grew up in punk rock and skateboarding and hardcore that we are on a different, like, we're such a different generation of adults. I don't know. It's so weird, like how we came up, and we were okay. Like there was probably way different pressure for our parents growing up, all the stuff they were growing up, whatever years those were. But for us, like you said, like you found punk rock where there was you were getting bullied in school, and then you found punk rock and it was like a whole different family, and there was no judgment. You could be yourself. You were more talkative. You were more outgoing. You met real people that were like family members to you. And like we had that. And a lot of people didn't have that. We're very lucky to have that because it made us who we are right now. It made me a better parent, a better husband, like all that, the stuff we got. Because Kevin Seconds, let's talk about Man Enough to Care. You talk about it all the time on New Wind. Like,
yeah,
that record spoke to me in such a way. And that song, I didn't even have a dad. My dad had died when I was 3. But the song about raising your son to be macho and he has to be tough and he can't be feminine and all that. Nobody was singing about stuff like that. And that was almost like he was like our father, like telling us this stuff and stuff that we've seen other people go through. Because I didn't have a dad. I've seen other friends be pressured by their dads to be the quarterback on the football team and drink a beer with me and all this stuff, and like just that kind of music we had was there was so many father figures for us.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I just think about how lucky I am to have found something like that that did speak to me, and and how many, if you look at the typical person who's like close to 50, what they are like, and it kind of goes back to what our parents were like, but with 7 Seconds, perfect example.
Yeah.
So that was my first show, 7 Seconds from Justice League at 930 Club, and it was, I think it was either Praise or New Wind tour. I don't remember.
I saw both, yeah.
But that's when I met Ken. But it's because that was his first show also. But yeah, I look at it and I'm like so thankful that there are lyrics out there that still resonate with me today so much. I mean, you know what? Actually, even more. because I was 13 when I first heard that, I couldn't grasp how important those lyrics were back then.
Yeah.
A 13-year-old can't fully grasp what he was saying back then. And I just in the past few years is when I really realized it. Like I have such an important role in a younger person's life where I can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And, and like these lyrics, like if there's like one song that, that I really, if someone could grow up and follow, it would be that one.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. And, and I think it's so incredible. Yeah. And I remember like, I saw 7 Seconds probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was the first time I ever talked to Kevin. And I was just like, I just got to thank you for that. Just like that song is absolutely incredible. And
awesome,
it just
man.
means so much to me as, at this age, because it's so important, because no one's talking about caring about people. No one's talking about loving people. And that's where I think a lot of like hardcore bands I don't relate to so much. It's because I just don't relate to the lyrics. But yeah, there's not much talk about like love and caring. And that's kind of what I want to hear about now. I want to hear about caring about each other and treating each other well. And that's, that's where I am today, and that's what I want to hear, or something that drives me emotionally, because songs about straight edge or songs about the hardcore scene, it's not going to motivate me like it did when I was a teenager.
Yeah, but we already had those. Like, we lived those already. We had those moments. We were around for like some of the greatest shows in DC, all around the East Coast area. We got to be part of that time, and it was so magical, and those songs did have a massive impact on us. Yeah, but as you grow older, you listen to other types of music, and just, you know what I mean? The hardcore is just that, it seemed like the only music that mattered when you're that young, but then when your mind expands, like 7 Seconds, because of them, I started listening to U2 because Kevin grew his hair out. They were thanking them on the thank you list, and just stuff like that. I was like, oh, U2, okay. Then I started listening to other types of music and being more open-minded,
Yeah, and but think about, like, if you never heard that band, how much of a different person would you be today? Or
yeah,
and that's something that I think about a lot, and I'm so thankful that we have this type of music where you can reach out to the singer of a band and let them know, like I watch how H2O fans interact with you on Instagram, and like it's easy for me to say, like, hey, Toby is a really nice guy. He's influenced me so much. But there's kids out there who idolize you, and you share their pictures on Instagram. Well, like, perfect example, like Fall Out Boy. I'm a huge fan of Fall Out Boy. I love those guys.
Yeah.
But there was a picture where they were recording with Ryan Adams, and they shared a picture, and one of the guys was wearing a Damnation shirt. And I I thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
That's amazing.
I seriously got chills, but and it's like,
That's
I know
awesome.
them, but it's not that big of a deal, but at the same time it is. But when you share just something as simple as sharing a picture when someone mentions you on Instagram, you are touching that person in ways that, you cannot even realize. Like, you are having such a long-term lasting effect on those. Because, like, imagine, like, if you were in a band in high school and Kevin Seconds put a T-shirt on of your band and played 930 Club, like, like, I mean, hey, this kind of is something similar. When Kenny got up and did Friends with you guys at RFK Stadium, he was wearing a Damnation shirt. And
that's right.
That still stands out. That is not that was 3 minutes in my lifetime that I will never forget.
That's awesome.
So it's like, it's like we think about, the little things we do from day to day that can have a positive impact on people's lives. And like, so you sharing something on Instagram from someone is just going to touch that person. And like, and that's why, just like being kind to people and just acknowledging that other people are struggling in ways that you cannot understand, and I think, I'm just kind of trying to like look at things differently in my life now. I'm just, And I really think that has to do with like having someone under my roof that's 12 years old and listens a lot more than she ever will admit. Like, you know, she pretends to not hear a fucking thing, but she hears everything.
Yeah.
You know, because weeks later, like I'll say something or something will come on the radio. Weeks later, she'll ask the question. And she's been formulating that question for weeks.
Yes.
And so I realized like how every little thing you do can like, it's, you know, what do they call it? The butterfly effect.
Totally.
You know, like every little thing you do can have like an impact on someone. And so, you know what, just like make it positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where I am today. And that's what I'm trying to do. I pretty much can guarantee I will fail more than I succeed, but that's not going to stop me from trying.
I mean, that's exactly what I try to do as a parent. Like you said, anything you do has a butterfly effect on your children, anybody's around you, like in your day to day, like you said. So obviously with my son, I try to be the most. I'm not the perfect dad. I'm not the perfect human either. So you do your best, and hopefully your son or your daughter or whoever they get some good. They learn some good stuff from you. That's the whole point, you know, having that relationship, that bond, you know.
Yes, and you just keep doing the best you can, and that's really all you can do.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any major regrets in your life at all, or no?
No, well, actually, yeah, I would say, you know, if I knew better, I would have focused on my mental health a lot more when I was younger, and went to therapy, you know what, I've been in therapy on and off since I was in fourth grade.
Wow.
No, fifth grade.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have taken it more seriously, understood the difference between depression and sadness. Because like there's a big difference between depression and sadness, and then understanding that depression can kill you. You know, so I think just understanding that and focusing on that when I was younger, so I wouldn't have lived so many years of my life unhappy. I mean, I'm probably the most happy, depressed person you will find. And I think I'm a good method actor. Like, you know, a lot of times I've been so good at putting up a good front, like, hey, smile on my face. But that's mainly because, you know, I don't want people to know I'm suffering, and I don't want people around me to hurt, because I realize, like, when you see someone you care about hurting, you hurt too. And I don't want them to hurt. And so I think the only thing in my life that I think I regret is not focusing on my mental health earlier. You know, I've made a million mistakes, but I think I hope I've learned from most of them. So I wouldn't say they are regrets. They're just things I learned, I hopefully will learn from, but I definitely regret not focusing on mental health early and learning from it and working on it. Now, you know, is much different, and I'm trying much harder, and, you know, instead of just like, okay, it's just how it is, because I realize, like, you know, there are ways to battle it. I don't think there's any way to win it necessarily. Like, it's always going to be there. Yeah. And I think I'm one of those people, and I think I've accepted it. Mm-hmm. But I just need to do everything I can to maintain a good balance and not let it win. So that's kind of where I am. And, you know, I deal with, I take my medication. I take my medication procedures. I'm trying to be more active. I see my doctors on a regular basis, where before I would get embarrassed that I wasn't feeling better, and I would just stop going. Wow. Just because I was embarrassed. And now I realize that, hey, you know what? These people are here to help me. They're not here to judge me. And so, yeah, that's a big thing is, and I still go in waves. Last year, I shattered my kneecap in January, and I couldn't. There was like 2.5 months almost where I could barely leave the house, and I got really. I was really depressed. It got worse than it had been in years, and but it's now I'm back out of it, and then. I was in the hospital in January because I had pancreatitis, and then I had to have my gallbladder removed. And then I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm feeling great. And now this, oh man, but that's where. And I was talking to my coworker Dustin. He's a huge H2O fan, so
awesome, man.
He's going to be stoked. But he's had such a rough year. Like he's just. But he was laid off or furloughed, whatever they call it. But he was just like, I'm working on me. I'm taking a mental health month. Like every day, I'm going to be working on me, and and I think that's so great. And it really made me think, like, okay, how can I be using this time that I'm not working as much as I'd like to better myself? I can learn. I can do all these things, and I can be a better me, and then that means better for all the people I love.
Around you, yeah.
Having that conversation with him, I was just like, you know what, it's great, how like he and I, we're kind of like, he's almost like the closest thing I could think of, like with a twin. I work, and I'm so thankful to work with him. I work for such an amazing company, and going through that, I'm like, okay, you know what? I can look at it positive. I can look at it negative. Either way, it's not going to change how I look at it. It's not going to change the outcome. So I got to look at it in the most positive way I can and make the most out of it.
What happened? How'd you shatter your knee?
I was just walking down the sidewalk, and I just hit. There was the sidewalk was really messed up, and I just tripped. And the way I landed on it, I kind of tried to brace myself on a tree, but that kind of propelled me forward at the angle I was. And and just, I mean, it was one of those things where I knew it was bad when it happened. And then when I got to the ER, and they were like, so we have good news for you. And I was like, yeah, what's the good news? And like, you're going home tonight. And I was like, oh, cool. I was thinking, oh, wow, maybe I didn't need to go to the hospital. And they're like, bad news is you shattered your kneecap, so you're going to need surgery. And it was in like 7 pieces. And that's kind of frustrating for me because it's something that, I'm going to be in pain with for the rest of my life. But at the same time, I could walk, because I can put weight on it.
Yeah.
I could use the toilet, which was, because just the way our bathroom is situated, I could sit on the toilet and I could take showers. I would have to just keep one, but I was like, okay, how much more miserable would I be if I couldn't use the toilet or I couldn't take a shower? So
that's true.
But not being able to work and not being able to like just take walks, because that's something we love to do every night. Is just go, even if it's around the block, like just sitting in bed was just, it was, I mean, I was kind of the worst I had been in years. But I was, at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm going to get through this and get back and, get better. And so, and that's kind of where I am with this. Like, okay, how am I going to come out of this even better than when I went in?
Yeah. I like that. And what's the company you work for?
It's called The Finery. We do the laser tattoo removal. So, and I'm so like, Carmen is the owner of the company, and she's just absolutely amazing. Like I talked to, it's one of those things, like when your boss is sitting next to you, like you're supposed to be kind of like, shit, this sucks, but it's working with her is amazing. I have an amazing team. I'm so thankful, like, cause I have no business. I have no knowledge of anything like remotely, medical or anything, but they took me on because I love getting tattooed. I've been, years of, were you ever lasered by Carl when he had his laser?
I wasn't. I heard about it though. I never was though.
Okay, well, he tormented me.
Oh, that's cool.
But so that was my only, just. But I got that. So hopefully next time you come out, you'll come in and we'll take care of you. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
I told Carmen, she's the owner. Dustin and I, my coworker, told her a lot about you. Like, and she's so fascinated by like hardcore and punk and
that's
people
awesome.
who paved their own way. And that's kind of what she did. She sold her house and bought a laser, and then kind of everything from there, she's really worked hard to get. And, so she's kind of DIY in a lot of ways. And we worked on Roger from AF. And
I know, I saw that. It was
fell
amazing.
in love with him.
Yeah.
And she was just like, he's so neat, so she doesn't know anything about hardcore.
That's cool.
Or that lifestyle other than, a couple of our employees are dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Like, this is who we are, seeing an agnostic front when I was 13, and then him coming into my office when I'm 45, like,
crazy.
That's really fucking cool. Like, think about that. Like,
yeah, it's wild,
it's just
man.
like, so I don't know. I'm thankful for what I do and what I've been given. And, I'm thankful to be talking to you right now, who would have known at the old 930 club.
It's wild,
Jack
man.
Nasty and Swizz, like, it's, life takes some weird turns, and and it's like I'm really thankful for where I am today. It's I struggle a lot day to day, but I know what I need to do to at least maintain, and I'm doing my best.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here too. It's awesome talking to you, and like I said, I've known you since you were 13. And everything you've been through, man. I realize how, I talked to you from here time and time over the past, 25 years about the stuff you've been through. We're just hearing you talk about it, and all the stuff you've been through. I'm happy that you're still here because you've had so many highs and lows in your life and been through a lot. And what really makes me angry out of this whole conversation is that bullying starts in the home. So when we talk about how to inspire your children and young adults or just people around you in a positive way, I feel like the bullying starts in the home, whether products of their environment, they see what's happening in their house or how they're treated. And it makes me so upset that like kids picked on you so bad in school and it stuck with you your whole life. And there's millions of people out there that have been picked on that stuff. People think, oh, that was 20, 30 years ago. You still think about that? But it has such a mental impact on people from their childhood all throughout their adulthood. And it sucks because that could be fixed by just teaching kids to be loving and compassionate and open-minded. It's so easy to teach your kids how to be loving and bring them up in such a way, but you don't bring them in this world to make them bullies or you want to give them a better life than you had, even if you came from an abusive family or not. Like, it's just frustrating that like hearing your stories and how old you are now and the impact that had on you as a kid. You're one of the millions of people that's been through being bullied. It just sucks that still happens, and it happened to my son. What's even more frustrating about it now too, Mike, is that like parents really can't get involved because if the parents call the school, the kids find out, then your son becomes a snitch and he becomes a bigger target because the parents can't get, you know what I mean? Like if we wanted to so bad, we wanted to go to school because something happened to Max, but you can't. He's like, please don't, I'll deal with it. At least he told us what happened, which is great because some kids don't. But the fact that if the parents get involved, then the kid becomes he's in more of a threat.
Yep, it's like the target gets even bigger, and that makes it so more. That's what and that's what I think. Growing up, I was afraid of too. I was like, if I say anything to anyone, it's going to get worse. Then you're a tattletale, and
that's exactly
you're
then, yeah.
a snitch, and
and
it's like it just gets worse, and and that's where I just want to emphasize with Neil, just treat people right. Think about if someone said this to you, how would you feel?
Yeah, exactly.
I realize you're not going to take these bullies. There's no way you're going to end bullying on a whole, but what you can do is, do your best to teach the young kids around you that's not right. And, how do you do that? because it's almost like a feeding frenzy. You know, one kid gets in on it, and then so does everyone around it. And it's like, how do you stop it before it begins? Like, is there a way to do that? I just don't know.
Did your parents knew nothing about it when it was happening to you?
No,
Damn.
and it's just because I think, they were just kind of oblivious to it. They didn't really know. And one of the hard things was, the teachers were really close with the parents. And so the kids who were like the worst to me, their parents were really good friends with the teachers. So I couldn't say anything.
Of course.
And it was but at the same time, in a way, like, even though I have triggers where
I'm sure
someone will say something, and I'll be the first to admit I'm overly sensitive, and that's just how I am.
Yeah,
and that goes back to where, you have to be okay telling people you don't feel comfortable in a situation. Like, I'm okay with telling someone now, like, I am really a sensitive person. Like, I let the smallest, most meaningless things bother me. But I think about, how you can react and you can teach somebody to be aware of those things, like, hey, if someone tells you something, listen to them and try to, and just be, care about them. If they're your friend, stick up for them, care about them, and don't, if you see something happen to somebody, say something. Don't be afraid to stick up for somebody and be kind of like, look out for your friends. And and I wish I would have done that in the past too. Instead of like seeing someone getting bullied, because I wasn't the only one by any means who was the victim of it. I watched it happen to other people, and I'm sure I've done it myself without even realizing it, that I've bullied people. And, but I think, I just want to teach people, like, hey, be kind, care for people, and, like, just make the world around you the best place it can be. We have the one chance to get this right.
Yeah.
And why fuck it up? So, I guess it kind of goes to the name of the podcast, but you got one chance to do it right, and just do it. And,
exactly.
It's really not that difficult when you think about it. If you you take the time to be kind to somebody and treat them with respect, and then if you see someone who is on the receiving end of bullying or being treated badly, say something.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm really trying to instill. I said before, like, I fail more often than I succeed, but at least I know I'm trying.
Yeah, at least you're trying. I love that. And you have that one moment to be nice or be a jerk to somebody, and whatever you choose can impact their life forever, man. It could change everything. Even if you messed up and somewhere, like you stepped on somebody's shoe or something so stupid and silly, and you have a moment to be like, no, don't worry about it, kid. It's all just one thing to say to somebody. It could just stick with somebody forever and have an impact on them. And you don't even think about things at that moment, how even even being cool with somebody or like a small gesture can last forever, but it does. It sticks with people forever, man.
And like, honestly, one of the hardest things to do, but one of the best things to do, is apologize. Like, that's like, I always think about why is it so difficult to apologize? Yeah. But can you imagine something that feels better though than when you were wrong and you just say it with all sincerity, you just put yourself out there and be like, look, I'm really sorry. I did this, and I'm sorry. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
If you fuck up real bad, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you admit to it, it feels so good to just say, I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna learn from this.
Yeah.
So, and that's, and hey, shit, unfortunately, I've had to apologize so many times in my lifetime. I know that, and I'm going to have to. And I'm sure there's going to be times where I don't when I need to, but it's like, that's where you just hope you keep learning from at every opportunity. You hope you learn something.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, man.
Yeah.
We talked for an hour and a half. This is great. I'm happy.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I could talk to you forever, and I learned so much about you today. And that's what I love about the podcast that I've been saying, is that like I know people for like 20, 30 years, and I think I really know them. But then when I talk to them, I hear a different side of their life, and it makes me love them even more and appreciate them more. And that's exactly what this conversation did with me and you. Like, I have so much respect for you that I already had before, but everything you've been through and where you are now and how you turn your life around, all the different things you've been through, and your music, and just your being honest about who you are and how you feel. I really appreciate this conversation,
Yeah, I spent so many years hiding it, and I think hiding behind lyrics, because people could look at the lyrics and be like, oh man, those are really insightful, and like, how do you come up with them? Like, and those are really artistic, and like, no, and I if that's anything about anything I've ever written, it's like, it's true, and I've lived, and I'm still here, and I not, and that's something that for so long I think I felt so embarrassed about. I was like, I got a family who loves me, and I grew up in a nice house, and I've never missed a meal, and I've never, I don't have the same thing. It's like, what do I have to be depressed about? And then I just realized, like, it has nothing to do with me. Depression is a sickness. It's a disease. Like, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it because they can't see it. You can't take an X-ray of it. You can't take, it's so hard, and it manifests in so many different ways. And so, if that's it, like, if anybody was listening and is struggling with depression and anxiety and just like, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's like, it's good. I think I said this earlier, like, I'll never win it, but I'm not, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop fighting. Like,
I love that.
It's something I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life. I know that, but telling my friends I love them, telling my parents and my brothers, and seeing my brother up on stage with, seeing you up on stage, seeing the people that influence me, like, the darkest times, and that's when I'm going to, like, it's going to be worth it. Like,
I love that, man.
For that one smile, that one heart emoji I'll send, it's like that, like, hey, that's my way of saying I love you. And you kept me breathing, that right when I was not feeling good, like, that's my way of saying, like, or it used to be like, you just saved my life.
Yeah.
And, it's the first time I think I've really admitted that, but that's like, so, if you've ever got a heart from me random in the middle of the night, just so you know, you saved my life.
I love that. And right now in your life, you're happy. You're in a good place.
Yeah. I live with Amber and her daughter, Neela. And, it's like, we struggle a lot with a lot of things. But I love my job. I have such a good team, and it's great because, I think this with us being quarantined, it's really says a lot how we interact with each other.
I agree.
We're both very respectful of each other, and we enjoy spending time with each other. We've spent the majority of every day with each other, except for when I'm working. We just kind of hang out, watching TV, taking walks. We try to take multiple walks every day.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about, how she and I get along and love each other. And so I'm thankful. And I couldn't imagine being in a better place right now. So, but, and that goes back again, like, I don't let my guard down though. It doesn't mean I stop fighting. I got to keep going.
I love that.
I've let my guard down before, and it hasn't been pretty.
I feel like the quarantine right now too is going to help a lot of people maybe talk to each other, needed to talk for a very long time, if they weren't communicating, if they were distancing themselves from each other, relationships, it's going to help or hurt them right now. Like the quarantine is going to be good for so many. I think it's going to be more positive than anything as far as like humans reconnecting, the planet like healing itself again, like animals are flourishing, the pollution's going down. There's so many like I feel like Mother Nature just gave us all a big time out, you know?
Yeah, like it's crazy. We were just talking about that this morning.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So, and you know, and I really hope it slows us down enough, and even if it doesn't last, like it slows us down enough, and we can really learn to appreciate each other and what we each have to offer each other, even if it's just in your relationship with somebody else, you know, where you can finally take the time to you know, because like, you know, middle of the night you get texts, like dinner you get texts, emails, like, you know, work.
Yep.
And this is a time where, you know, it's like the work stuff isn't coming in as much, like, you know, just and you're enjoying the time you're spending with each other, like playing words. You know, Amber's sitting on the couch next to me. We're playing Words with Friends with each other, like, but we're, you know, it's you know, it's
I love
like
that.
But we're enjoying each other's company, and it's, you know, it's really nice. And I wish I could. I'm really bummed because wasn't last night, tonight, and tomorrow. I was supposed to be seeing you guys.
I know,
and
man.
Be well.
I know, man.
You know, that bums me out because I'm super proud of Brian and this new band. You know, I've been proud of everything he's ever done, but, you know, this is him really putting himself out there.
Yes.
It's hard to listen to. You know, I spend most of the set crying.
Wow.
But, you know, it's, you know, because he's so honest, and he's so where he just puts it straight out there. You know, there's no like reading into.
So do you as well, though. So do you as well. You both wear your heart on your sleeve. Both you guys.
Yeah, you know, I guess, you know, that's my thing with, you know, I'm always like, and, you know, Amber always, whenever I hear something good, Amber's like, you know, because I'll always be like, oh, you know, Brian recorded this. So she beats me to the punch now, and she'll be like, you know, Brian recorded this. Like, you know, I'm like, you know, you would think he's
proud
like
brother.
my older brother or
I
something,
love that,
because
though.
I respect him so much, and I'm so proud of him, and, you know, and I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of, like, I'm so thankful for the wonderful people I have in my life. And when I'm feeling the most down on myself, then I think of all the beautiful people I surround myself with, and I you know, I'm like, wow, you know what? I must not be that bad if, like, these talented, amazing people will even give me the time of day. And so I'm so thankful for, like, all the talented and successful people I know, and proud of them. And, you know, like, it almost feels like a hardcore show, like, where I want to be like, and this goes out to this person and this person,
shout outs.
Yeah, you know, like, I understand that. I just want everyone to know how much I love them and how proud I am of everything they've done. You know, because growing up with all these fucking misfits, you know, like,
yes,
you know, you know, think of a couple of people you knew, you know, and think about. You know, I could see some of these guys that I used to hang out with. Like, there is no way we're gonna make it out of the year, much less maybe tonight, without them going to jail. And, you know,
so
like,
true.
And like, how the fuck did they? Like, they're on TV now. Like, how the fuck did that happen?
It's
like,
true.
You know, and it's just, like, so cool how these like social deviants, you know, guilty by association. I guess, you know, you're talking about those people there. Like, you know, it's like,
it's so true.
How the fuck did those people end up turning their lives around and do such amazing things? Like, it's awesome.
It's pretty awesome, like, to see that. Yeah, the growth.
You know, and how they influence people. So I realize, like, I keep going on, so I don't want to anymore. But, you know, I'm so thankful to you, and you've inspired me. Just, you know, and there's a picture I have somewhere, and I remember is you guys played at 9:30 with not Dropkick Murphys. What band did you go on tour with? They were like a big ska.
Boss Tones.
Boss Tones, yes. And you wrote, you know, you put, because I was like, I remember telling Carl, I had to work that night and I couldn't go. You did 2 nights in a row at 9:30.
That's right.
And I couldn't go the second night. And I was like, yo, make sure he X's up and you wrote for Mike DC on your knuckles and X'd up. And
I
still have
did.
that picture somewhere. So,
that's awesome, man.
I gotta find that.
I want to see that.
But,
yes.
you know, it's you know, and it's like little things like that, you know, like where that was my way of saying, like, you influence so many people, like, you just, you know, don't forget that. And
thank you,
and
man.
that's why, like, I still put X's on every time we play. Just not very outspoken about straight edge necessarily, but in terms of, like, hey, this is who I am.
Yep.
And if you want to know about it, like, if you want to see an old guy, you know, like, who just still really believes in it, you know, for, you know, as something that I really think helped me become a good person, you know. So yeah, I'm so thankful for you and like
thank
how
you
too. Still influence these people. So
thank you, brother.
You know, it's incredible.
Well, thank you, man, and thank you for your time, and thank you for everything you put out in the world musically. And you are loved, and people do love your band. You inspired so many people with your music, and I know sometimes it's hard to see outside your world and see, like, oh, did I actually do anything with my life? Did I do anything good in music? And so, yes, you have, and I get in that bubble too, where, like, you put records out and you live your life, and sometimes when you're by yourself, you're like, did I actually do anything in my life? Do people care? But people do care, Mike, and people do love you, and people do appreciate your heart emojis. And they appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you being here, being live, and you know, it's great to see you still believing in doing what you want to do. Since I met you, since you were 13, send me that flyer. I'm going to post that flyer when this podcast comes out too. But yeah, my wife says hello too. My wife wanted me to say, Moon say hi, Mama. She said hi. What did you say?
Tell her I love her. I've met Moon. We stayed with her in Chicago in 1992.
1992.
For like 4 days.
Yep.
In a little efficiency apartment. There was like 10 of us.
He's talking.
So Moon and Kim.
Moon and Kim, when he stayed with you guys for 4 days in 1992. She told me that was on the list to bring up to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, Worlds Collide, No Escape, and Railhead.
Worlds Collide, no Escape.
So there was 12 of us.
12 of them at your house, Moon. Jeez. In a studio, yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, that was, and we were there for a long time, and they did, you know, she was both, you know, both her and PK were absolutely amazing. So
such a small world. That's amazing, man.
Yes. So, but thank you so much, and tell Moon I love her. Tell Max, like, I can't wait to see him again. It's been years since I saw him, so
for sure.
It's like shit. I think he was like 10 the last time I saw him. I saw you guys on a boat in New York City.
That's right. He's 17 now. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. So I think that was about 7, maybe more. You know.
If you think of any, I do this a lot with people. Like I was on the phone with Peter yesterday from Field Day, and I did him 2 days in a row because he hit me up. I was like, I want to talk about some more things. So since we're on quarantine and we have time, if there's anything else you thought we should have touched or talked about, just text me. We'll get back on the phone another day because we have plenty of time, man. And I love talking to you. I love talking to you. This is great.
Yeah, and you know, and before we know it, we're going to be back, and hopefully the new normal is even better than it was before.
I hope so too, man. I think this is like everybody's gonna be refreshed, restart, rebooted. Humans it's gonna be interesting to see how people ease back into the world, how they go to shows, just everything, man. I'm excited to play that. Our show got moved to July with Be Well. I'm still excited for that in New York.
Oh yeah, I
can't
wait.
Me too, man.
Really looking forward to it.
Me too, brother. Well, thank you for your time and thank you for everything. And I love you, my friend. I'm proud of you too.
All right, I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to hear the next one.